Indiana's News Center presents a special Decision 08 debate on location at the Reinhardt Center on the IPFW campus.
Before we get to the debate, we have some information about the office. Article 8, Section 8 of the Indiana Constitution requires the election of a state superintendent of public instruction. The election for this office is held in the same year as the presidential and gubernatorial elections. The person who wins the election on November 4th will begin serving on the second Monday in January of 2009. Unlike other statewide offices, there are no term limits for this position. The Superintendent of Public Instruction chairs the Indiana State Board of Education. This is the body that sets the educational policies and procedures for the state. The Superintendent also directs the work of the Indiana Department of Education. The State Department of Education conducts research and compiles data that assists the State Board of Education in making its decisions. The department implements the policies and procedures established by the State Board of Education. It also provides technical assistance to school corporations throughout the state. Our two candidates are Republican Dr. Tony Bennett, who is currently in his second year as the superintendent of Greater Clark County Schools, and Democrat Dr. Richard Wood, who recently retired after serving 19 years as the superintendent of Tippecanoe School Corporation. He is also past president of the Indiana Association of Public School Superintendents. Welcome to Reinhardt Recital Hall in the Reinhardt Music Center on the IPFW campus. I'm Melissa Long, and I will be the moderator of tonight's debate. This debate is being brought to you by Indiana's News Center and the Mike Down Center for Indiana Politics. Our candidates are Republican Dr. Tony Bennett and Democrat Dr. Richard Wood. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage. The format for this debate was agreed to by both of our candidates this evening. The order for speaking was determined by a coin toss, and we'll begin the debate with opening statements from each candidate. After opening statements, the candidates will be asked questions on a rotating basis. One of the candidates will answer the question, and the other candidate will have the opportunity to comment on that answer. And we do expect those comments to be germane to that answer. The sequence for each question will end when the candidate who answered the question will be allowed a brief rebuttal comment. And the debate will conclude with closing statements from each candidate. Our questions have come from public school superintendents from around the state and from Indiana's News Center. Our first opening statement will come from Dr. Wood.
Thank you very much. I should clarify for the members of the audience that I'm going first because I did lose the coin toss. I would like to, first of all, I think on behalf of Dr. Bennett and myself, express our appreciation to Indiana Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mike Down Center, the Indiana News Center, and all those that have made this event possible. I would also like to thank those of you who are in attendance this evening or those who may be watching or listening to this broadcast for your interest in making an informed decision about this particular race. And when we're speaking about races, you know, our country has been involved in a number of races in recent years. When I was a boy, we were involved in the space race. And over the years, we've been involved in what we call the arms race. And we're now engaged in another race. We're engaged in an education race. Ladies and gentlemen, the countries around the world, and I'm not just talking about the superpowers, are very interested in a very competitive education system, and they are putting vast resources and commitments in their individual countries into the education of their students. What is the prize in this race? Well, very simply, ladies and gentlemen, the prize is to have what we maybe take for granted in this country. You want to have an expectation that your children can have a better life than what was available to the previous generation. You want to have a life where you can have high expectations, that you can have hope, and that you know that you have an unlimited potential for the future. Now, I say we perhaps take these things for granted because we've had many of these things in this country for many years. But we cannot rest idly and watch this race. We must be active participants in this race. And it isn't just a national concern. It's not a state concern. This is a local concern. Every community must be aware of the fact that we are engaged in this competition. We are no longer competing against our own students. We are competing against students from other states and from other countries. Now, I want to suggest to you there is nothing wrong with this race. It's a productive race, and perhaps everyone can win. And there is nothing wrong with us raising the standard of living of other countries in the world. But we have to make sure when that happens that it does not come at the expense of our standard of living and our quality of life. We still need to maintain that degree of hope and high expectation in this country. So it is a local issue. The state superintendent and the Indiana Department of Education must serve to assist local communities in positioning themselves to be well equipped to have their children be highly competitive in this education race. We must be a resource so that local communities can do the best for their students and provide them the best opportunity to be successful. Thank you.
Dr. Bennett.
Thank you. Like Dr. Wood, I too would like to thank the organizers and sponsors of this event. And I would also like to take a moment to thank Dr. Wood. Probably unlike every political race you've seen this election cycle, you have two gentlemen up here who have been kind and have been agreeable even in our disagreements, and it's been a breath of fresh air. So I'd just like to start by thanking Dr. Wood. To begin my opening statement, I had an opportunity yesterday to attend Bethel Community Church down in Evansville. Heard the senior pastor, Brent Nicholson, speak, and his message kind of hit me pretty hard. His message had to do with the fact, what do we do with our one life? That at the end of that linear time we spend on this earth, do we say in our last days, we have spent that time to be the best we can? And ladies and gentlemen, I would challenge you to ask that same question as it applies to K-12 education in Indiana. I would ask you to think for a moment about the children of Indiana and how they just have one chance at K-12 education. They just have one life with us as educators. And are we doing the best we can do to arm those kids to compete nationally and internationally? And I will tell you, I don't believe we have. I think we must produce a system that clearly says to any business that if we want to move our business and have the best trained workforce, we move to Indiana. If we want to move our kids and have them be exposed to the best education system, that family should sit around the dinner table and say, let's move to Indiana. And if we do that, we can say at the end of that K-12 life, when those kids walk across the stage, we've done our job. We believe we have a plan for that. That plan includes restoring discipline to our schools so that they are high-level learning environments without distractions, driving dollars to the classroom where real learning occurs, and finally, making sure we recruit, train, and retain and evaluate our teachers like the professionals they are. We believe we have that plan. We have a vision and we have a plan so that just like Reverend Nicholson said Sunday, when our kids walk across the stage at the conclusion of their education life in Indiana public schools, we know we've put them out there with the best. Thank you.